as dementia family caregivers, we watch the person that we support lose skills. They lose physical skills. They lose cognitive skills. They lose the ability to initiate and complete activities. And very often, our tendency is to want to be helpful by jumping in and fixing the problem and performing the task for the person rather than allowing them to accomplish it on their own. The best advice that I can give to family caregivers is to be patient. Allow the person to try and accomplish a task on their own. And if they're unable to, then think about what are the least intrusive ways that I can support the person in getting that task done. So we know that the longer that a person retains independence, the longer they will continue to retain independence. We know that practicing skills on a daily basis helps people keep those skills longer. We know that accomplishing skills on our own helps us feel good about ourselves. And so even in everyday tasks like putting on your shoes, if your loved one is having difficulty doing that, we can then think about why they're having difficulty. Maybe it's because those shoes are now a little bit difficult for them to put on. Maybe it's because those shoes have laces and they can no longer tie shoes up by themselves. And so therefore we want to look at things like, well, gosh, maybe what I need are shoes that they can slip into. Maybe I need shoes that have a Velcro closure instead of a tie or a buckle of some kind. Similarly with clothing, if they are no longer able to pull on their pants by themselves because they're having difficulty with the buttons and the zippers, maybe it's time to move into elastic waist pants so that it's really easy, much easier for them to put them on. We want to be careful about the way that we present these things. We don't want to just say like, you can't zip your pants anymore, so I got you some pants that you can pull up more easily. Instead, what I want to do is come home and say, oh my gosh, I found the most beautiful pants. Everybody is wearing them. I saw a guy at the shop wearing them and they looked so cool that I bought a pair for you. I think they'll look great on you. We want to make it so that it's not about their dementia. I think that at the end of the day, as a family caregiver, what we want to be conscious of is the importance of maintaining a person's routine for as long as possible and putting the supports in place that allow them to continue with that routine. So if their routine is that they get up in the morning and they shower, then what I want to do is make sure that they can still get up in the morning and shower. And if that requires that I stand nearby and I coach them in the shower, then I do that. If it requires that I actually take off my clothes and I get in the shower with them, then I do that. If I need to offer them choices, like, do you want this shampoo or do you want this shampoo? Do you want the green towel or the blue towel? I do things like that because I want them to continue that activity, because I want them to continue all of the activities that are part of their routine for as long as possible. There was a study that was recently published where they looked at the importance of helping a person with dementia set goals for the day and then help them accomplish those goals. And more often than not, those goals had to do with what they would have done anyway. They're part of their daily activity. So even something like making a cup of tea, if I am able to, now I probably at some point will not be the person who's pouring the boiling water into the cup because maybe I shake or maybe my visual perception is starting to fail. And so I might miss the cup. And the downsides, right, are terrible. We don't want somebody pouring boiling water on themselves. But what we do want is for them to be able to dunk the tea bag in the cup. We want them to make a decision about when it's time to pull the tea bag out. We want them to be able to put their sugar or their honey in. We want them to add their lemon or their milk and stir it themselves and then drink their tea. It sounds like such a trivial thing when you're a person with your healthy brain. But for a person who's living with dementia, that is a huge piece of independence. I am still able to make my own cup of tea, and I decided that I was going to do it. I made a list of goals, and one of them was that I was going to have tea. I can now cross that off the list because I have accomplished something. So we want to help people accomplish those things that are important to them. And that means that sometimes we need to put supports in place. So for instance, there are supports that I can put in place, like making sure that I buy a mug that is heavy enough that it's and stable enough that it's not going to tip over. So when they have decided that they want to make tea, they're going to be successful. If they decide that they want to go out for a walk, that's one of the things that they want to do today. What supports am I going to put in place to make sure that that happens? Am I going to, do I need to say, hey, let's go for a walk now? Do I need to suggest that they put on their coat? Do I need to learn how to help them put on their coat? Do I need to ask them if they want help? Or do I just initiate help without asking? You know your person, but what we want to always do is allow them to try things on their own before we step in and take over. How do I know if an activity is too complex for the person that I support? Typically, the way that we know that it's too complicated for them is that they're not successful accomplishing it. So I'll give you a story. I watched my husband, who had frontotemporal dementia, make a ham and cheese sandwich. He got up out of his chair and he said, I'm going to make a ham and cheese sandwich. He walked into the kitchen. He opened the refrigerator. He took out the ham. He took out the cheese. He put them on the counter. He grabbed the mayonnaise, he put it on the counter. He reached to the top of the refrigerator, which is where we store the bread, and he took out 2 pieces of bread and he put them on the counter. He opened the drawer and he pulled out a knife and he put it on the counter. And I watched him look at all of those things, look at them. I saw him starting to wring his hands, and then he started pounding on the counter and screaming. Why? Because he couldn't remember the first step. So he knew the pieces, but he couldn't put it together. And so the right thing to do would for me to have been to reflect and validate the problem. So the reflection is, oh my gosh, it's hard to know what the first step is to get this going. And then the validation part would be, I see that you're really frustrated by this, and I would be frustrated too. I hate this for you. May I help? That's not what I did. What I did is I said, for crying out loud, just let me do it for you, because I didn't have the skills that I have now. And that only made him angrier, because it was so frustrating for him that he didn't know how to do it and that I did know how to do it. And so what I want to do is I want to watch, when do things get hard? There was another time when he came in and he was so frustrated. He said, my buttons have stopped working. My buttons don't work. And what he meant was, I cannot figure out how to button a shirt anymore. So what that meant to me was, I want him to keep putting on shirts by himself, but he can't do buttons. So maybe what that means is we wear shirts that don't have buttons. Let's do t-shirts instead of button-down shirts. Let's put on a cardigan that doesn't need to be buttoned if he needs to stay warm. So as the family caregiver, we will know when a person is struggling because we see them struggle. And our job is to recognize the struggle, to acknowledge the struggle, not to shame the person, not to jump in and do it for them, but to figure out, how do we put supports in place so that they will be able to do it on their own next time. Zinnia videos can help family caregivers in a number of ways around activities that they engage in with their loved one with dementia. So for instance, I'm ready to go for a walk. I really need a walk. I need a walk for my own mental health, and I know that my loved one with dementia would benefit from a walk. So I suggest, let's go out for a walk, and my loved one says, I don't really want to go for a walk, which is not unusual. People with dementia develop apathy, or they might be afraid of falling down, or there might be a host of reasons why they don't want to go for a walk. But I feel that they'll be safe walking. I just need to get them out the door. So one of the things that I could do, for instance, is I could say, you know what? Let's just watch a video first. So we might sit down and watch a video, and maybe I would put on the video about dogs because I know that my loved one loves dogs. So we watch the dogs video, and that's just, less than 10 minutes. When the dogs video is over, I can say, ooh, I have a great idea. Let's go outside and see how many dogs we can count. So we go for a walk and we look for dogs. Or maybe we would watch a video about fall leaves if it's the autumn time. And then I would say, oh my gosh, I have the best idea. I want to go outside and I want you to come with me to just collect some beautiful fall leaves. Would you help me collect some beautiful fall leaves? So I can initiate an activity through watching a video that could be a catalyst for that activity. Additionally, I can use Zinnia videos to help us accomplish activities of daily living. So maybe it's time to eat breakfast, but my loved one is resistant to sitting down and eating. I could watch the Let's Eat Breakfast video. We watch it, we see other people eating, and then I say, oh my gosh, that looks really good. You know what? I think that we have some of that same food in the kitchen. Let's go check it out. Or if I want my loved one to take a shower and they're resistant to showering, I can put on a Zinnia video about showering. And then after a little while, I can say, wow, that water looks so warm and good. Ooh, how about if we go take a shower? What we've also found is if a person is resistant to a particular activity, that if we watch the video that models that activity on a daily basis, over time, it reduces stress around that activity. So Zinnia videos can be helpful in a number of ways to help family caregivers accomplish activities of all kinds. So how can other family members use Zinnia videos to help support the person who's living with dementia? One of the things that we run into is that I, as the primary caregiver, might also be the person who makes the meals and might also be the person who does a lot of the household chores. To help keep the person with dementia engaged, I might suggest that another family member simply sits with them and watches a Zinnia video that is of interest to that person so that I can go get a few things done. So maybe if the person with dementia is crazy about fly fishing or crazy about basketball or skiing or baking, I could have somebody sit with them, watch that video, engage them in conversations, keep them happy so that I can go do some of the activities that I need to do. Additionally, activities of daily living can be supported by somebody other than the primary caregiver through Zinnia videos. So any family member could, for instance, watch a video with a person and then suggest that they engage in whatever that activity, in the activity that that video was about. So whether it is using the toilet or brushing teeth. For caregivers taking care of loved ones at home with dementia, probably the best advice that I could give to dementia family caregivers regarding activities of any kind for a person living with dementia is to always allow them to do as much as they can on their own for as long as possible. Because the longer that they continue doing skills, the longer that they will retain those skills, and the longer that they will retain a sense of self-worth and a sense of confidence, which is something we really want to help them hang on to.